We're live. Welcome to the PCS Q&A, and I am your host, MJ Boyce, Director of Community Outreach at PCS Grades. Boom! With me, as always, is the lovely Megan Harless, our resident PCS reform advocate, and oh, by the way, resident BA, censored for little ears in your room because we love you. We have a fantastic show for you today. We have Jessica from Blue Star Families on today to talk to us a little bit about these survey results that they do from the annual Military Family Lifestyle Survey. MJ needs
well done. You did it.
And I did. And but before we get to her and Megan for those DOD updates, we're going to go ahead and dive into those housekeeping items as we do every week. Ready, set, here we go. All right, folks, we've got the answers. And if we don't have those answers, guess what? We know who does. And if we don't know either of those things, we're going to take your questions for action and get back to you with an answer. Speaking of questions, any questions, comments, concerns, shout outs, go ahead and drop those in the comment section because as always, we've got some prizes to give away. We have, oh, the places you will go, we will go, you will go. Megan, hook me up. The places you will go. Yes. Man, it's been a while since I've read some Seuss. I need to get a copy of myself. And we're also giving away that Hope Design Limited bling as we do every week. Next up, we bring the experts to you from the U.S. Transportation Command to our pals over here at Blue Star Families, to military movers, to employment advocates, and military education experts. We bring them to you because they are the source and they will be able to answer your questions as it pertains to our life. Now, occasionally, you're going to be in a specific situation that is specific to you and your military family. And in those cases, there are two forever and always resources. Number one, your local chain of command. Number two, your local transportation office. Those are the people who know you. Those are the people who are dealing with your stuff. Those are the people who could take those issues that you have that are specific to you and your military family and further them for action. Speaking of resources, of course, we've got PCS Grades. PCS Grades is yet another PCS resource because, yes, we have peak PCS season coming around the corner, right? Like tomorrow almost, but PCSing, we do it all year long. So come to PCS Grades. Go ahead and leave or read a review about your on-base housing, off-base housing, movers. All of those can be reviewed and so much more. We have area guides. You can look up your BAH calculators. And oh, by the way, we have several housing and blog and relocation blog information and just tons of things at PCS Grades that are going to help you and your family. So go ahead and check out PCSgrades.com. I went up in octave so that there was no trademark issues. All right. Last but certainly not least, we have to keep doing our part, people. We've got to keep flattening that curve. We have got to keep flattening that curve. We're getting a little bit better depending on the area that you're in, but continue as it stands to wear your mask when appropriate, to social distance when appropriate, to get your vaccines if you can. And of course, because when we flatten that curve completely, we are going to flatten Murphy with it. You hear us, Murphy? We are coming for you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Megan for those DOD updates. Megan?
Hey everybody, so just a couple things today for you. We are talking all about our pets today. So the first thing coming out of Korea from the command there, we're going to drop this link in the comments so you guys can go and read what the language is in the new policy letter. But basically, if you're leaving Korea, you can now use commercial travel to be able to get back CONUS stateside if you have pets. They understand that the Patriot Express program, there are limited pet spots available. A lot of folks have pets and that folks need to get those pets back. So you have to coordinate that through your travel office there in Korea. But if you have pets and you're not getting a spot on the Patriot Express and you can't be waiting all that time, you can use commercial travel airlines to get back to the United States. The next thing is that we will again drop a comment below, but it's about the SPCA. In regards to our pets, the pet fees that we pay for airlines, for shipping, for travel, none of those are reimbursable. But you can use your DLA, your dislocation allowance, to pay for those costs or offset those costs. The SPCA also has a military grant program where you can receive money from them to use for your pet expenses. They are in the business of wanting to keep pets with their families. They don't want to see pets rehomed. They don't want to see pets left behind at shelters. So the SPCA is offering these grants to help offset the cost of what military families are paying to get their pets to and from their Oconus locations. Last thing with our pets, because we are a pet family too with 2 cats and a dog, it is highly advisable that when it comes time for your packing days and your loading days, that you really need to make sure your pets are secured. Every year we always hear a story or two about how a cat got into a couch, got into a dresser, got into something, got wrapped up and shipped with their household. So just a reminder for your fur babies, for our pets, they need to be secured either in a separate room and then move them to a different room as needed, or if you have the ability to have them boarded, and then you don't have to worry about, that issue at all. But make sure your pets are secured. We don't want to see any issues happening with those of pets getting packed into something. So make sure that they are secured in a safe location in your home or at a boarding facility. So that's all I've got for now. Send it back to you, MJ.
Awesome. And just for the record, I don't know if everybody heard this because I sure as heck did. Our poor Jessica over here, when she heard about those poor kitty cats, I know y'all did the same thing. You probably didn't hear her because y'all were doing the same thing. Like,
I can't even fathom that. Oh, that never occurred to me. We have pets too. And it just I didn't even think that your cat could get into the couch and get wrapped up in there. That sounds terrible. Oh yes, please take care of your fur babies and make sure they're okay.
Yes, every year we hear a story or two. Yeah, definitely. Every year we hear a story or two about it, and just a good reminder. I mean, I have a cat that's very, very slick and very, likes to get into everything. So just making sure our pets are in a secured room so we don't have to have those issues. That way you're not wondering, did somebody open the door and let them out? Are they just not coming back? It's time to go type of deal. We just don't want to have those issues of, getting a call from, a warehouse later that they heard a noise and unwrapped the couch and
stop
in there. So secure your pets, keep them safe.
That sounds awful.
Well, since we're already on you, Jessica, and since you're going to be front and center here in a second, I just wanted to introduce everybody to Jessica Strong. She's the co-director of applied research over at Blue Star Families. And Jessica, would you mind telling our audience just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I also am an Army spouse. I'm been a spouse for about 15 years now, and we're stationed at Fort Campbell. We've moved 3 or 4 times, depending on if you count his move on his own as an RGO batch. So we've got 3 kids. We moved to Campbell about 4 years ago, and I moved from a professor position because of our relocation, our PCS, to Blue Star Families, and started volunteering there, and then turned into the co-director of applied research. So in my position there, I mostly focus on the Military Family Lifestyle Survey. Well done, MJ. You got the acronym correct. Mm-hmm. Which is the annual survey we do every year on military family lifestyle issues. So things like PCSing and relocation and housing costs and all of those things. And pets actually keep coming up. So we are coming up on our own PCS. We have a PCS coming up this summer. So I am excited to partner with PCS grades and see all of the reviews that you guys have and learn more about the base, the duty station before we get there.
That is awesome. Thank you so very much for that plug. You rule. See, y'all, she keeps up. She keeps up. Okay, we're going to just go ahead and kick it off and dive right in. So you started talking a little bit about the survey, but I kind of wanted to know a little bit more, if we could dive deeper into what's the purpose, and then what do you do with the information that you gather from it?
So Blue Star Families started with the survey. Blue Star Families is a nonprofit that works to connect military families with the civilian communities in which they live, because we know most of us live out in the community. Most of us are not living on a military installation. We're living surrounded by civilians. So we're trying to build the bridge and connect military families and the civilian communities in which they live. And in order to do that, the first thing that we have to know is, what are the issues that military families are facing? So in 2009, when this group of military spouses got together to create Blue Star Families, they started with a survey. They said, we got to know what the issues are. So they started the Military Family Lifestyle Survey back then. We've been doing it pretty much every year since. We're on our 12th iteration right now. So it started with about 2,000 respondents, and now our most recent one that we just published last month had almost 11,000 respondents, who service members, spouses, National Guard, Reserve, veteran, parents, adult children, siblings, like everybody. We want to know everybody's view on how military family life impacts everybody. So we do this comprehensive survey on all of the perennial issues that are consistently a problem for military families: spouse employment, relocation, children's education, time away from family, all of those things. And we just keep up with how they are impacting families and what are the outcomes, what are the things that the ripple effects, what are the other things that are affected by a relocation or a spouse being unable to work outside the home. So we look at those things, and we are able to, because we have an annual survey, keep up with some of the current issues and current topics that are coming up. Like last year, we saw COVID, right? COVID shifted everything. It intensified all of the issues that we already were dealing with, and it brought up some new ones and brought to light some issues that we hadn't explored yet. So we added questions around diversity, discrimination, looking at the civil unrest that was present in the nation all of last year. So we get to look at lots of different things. So it's a comprehensive survey, covers a lot of topics, lets us look at things like in relationship to one another. How does having an unemployed spouse help you during your transition out of military service? How does having a child with special needs impact you on a relocation or you're getting ready to transition out? We can look at all of those things together because it's so comprehensive. So that's a little bit about the survey. I think you asked, what do we do with this information, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we use it to inform people who are making some of these decisions, making some of these policies and programs, right? So we take the findings and we brief them we send them to the White House. We send them to Joining Forces 2.0. We send them to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We send them to congressmen and legislators at the national level and at the state level who are working to make proposing legislation that will make changes. We share them with local military leadership at your unit and command level. So we share them with philanthropic organizations who are directing money to support military families and need to know where to direct that money to go to make the biggest difference. So we are informing those decision makers as much as we can so that they can address the things that are important to you guys, to our military families.
Word.
Yeah, definitely. Very comprehensive survey that you guys do, because I usually sit down and fill it out every year as well. So we know the results for the 2020 survey recently came out, I believe, last month.
Yeah, not even a month ago.
So what are some of the most notable findings that came out of the 2020 survey?
Well, there's a few that I think are particularly important here. One, those perennial issues that we have. My light just turned off. I don't know why my light just turned off. Those perennial issues that we have were intensified by COVID, right? Mm-hmm. So spouses were already having concerns with unemployment and underemployment. COVID really intensified that. Families were already worried about kids' education because they were relocating so frequently. Now they're not just relocating, they're also switching from virtual school to in-person school to hybrid school to going to school on Wednesdays, and then on Thursdays we have virtual day, and it's lots of more transitions for them. Yeah. So we saw all those things that were already problems sort of intensify, but then we saw some other things that were really interesting to think about for relocation in particular. So one of the things that we looked at was BAH and out-of-pocket housing costs. Right. So your BAH, I mean, I know you guys know this, but let me just spell it out for people who may not be familiar. Basic allowance for housing is the allotment that you get for your housing. It's supposed to cover 95% of what your housing costs are. So that leaves the family to cover that 5%, right? So the DoD published for 2021. These are how much that 5% should be in dollars that you should be spending each month. I want to just put you on the spot, MJ. How much do you think is 5%? How much in dollars should families be spending out of pocket every month?
In my personal opinion, that would be zero. That'd be that.
That would be nice, right? That would be nice. That would be if we were able to find housing that is below, not just at BAH, but below BAH.
Mm-hmm. And in finding out, like, so depending on the area, let's take where I'm at right now. Okay, Virginia, Northern Virginia area. I would say 5%. That's more than I'm gonna tell you. That's more than an electric bill. It's probably going to be more than some of my other utilities. It's going to be more than I want it to be.
Right. That's accurate. So across the U.S., the rates vary, of course, but how much the DoD anticipates you spending out of pocket, that 5%, is supposed to be between $70 a month and $158 a month. That's the range. What percentage of military families do you know that spend less than $158 a month out of pocket on their housing costs?
None. And the reason for that is because the housing costs also include utilities and all that other stuff. So if we have to go below that rate, we can't just look for a house at the BAH range and be like, here's my BAH and there's a house, because there's more stuff that we got to pay for that house.
Yeah. There's all the utilities and everything. So I think the thing that was maybe most surprising is that 77% of the active duty family respondents are paying more than $200 out of pocket every month. That sounds about right, but when you compare that to what you're anticipated to spend, families are spending a lot out of pocket, a lot more than they're anticipating. So, and it's crazy in different housing markets, right? You brought up like Northern Virginia. It's a high cost of living area. So you're thinking about utilities, you're thinking about the commute, you're thinking about the tolls. Same with places like San Diego. That's another high cost of living area. So it varies so much, but families are spending a lot of money out of pocket.
Yeah.
We're trying to think about what that means for like this upcoming PCS season and the housing market that is going on right now with the PCS season. We got a lot of families who didn't move last year because of the stop movement and COVID, who are now moving this year. Sorry, guys. And so we're adding that to the people who would normally move. There's a lot of people moving right now, and a lot of people looking for houses right now.
There is, and it feels like there's not enough. Yeah. There's not enough of a
an inventory.
There you go. Sorry. Yeah, more coffee, please. Yes, no, there's really not. And so, I mean, we're definitely going to be talking about that here in a second.
Right. And
go ahead.
It's okay. You brought up pets. Pets was another thing that we asked about this year. So we're trying to find out, why are people making the housing choices that they're making? Why did you choose the house that you chose? Like, why did you choose to spend more than your BAH? Because there really wasn't anything available. What are you looking for? You're looking for the majority of respondents said, I'm looking for proximity to base. I'm looking for a safe place, a safe community for my family to live. And then these two were tied for third. A good school district, and it allows my pets. Those two were tied.
I can tell you.
So important.
Yeah, I would say our family falls right into that. So we are currently in Texas. We are at a remote assignment, so we don't have a normal military installation around us. And so when we moved here in 2019, it was a very low inventory of what was available for homes. And we ended up actually losing a bedroom. My boys are now sharing a room, which they have a love-hate relationship with, but it was just—
Mine would be the same. We just moved into two separate rooms.
Yeah, we prefer a 4-bedroom, so everyone has their own, but we can make do with 3 if needed. And then the school district was really important because we were leaving a really fantastic school district. And so I wanted to be able to maintain that. And then we have fur babies. We have some pets, and we needed to be able to have a home that allowed that. And so we're always, because we know we have pets, we know there are some owners that are very hesitant with that. We're always willing to pay more to be able to have our pets, whether it's in monthly rent a little bit more, or whether it's in a higher pet deposit, to show them, like, we are serious about our pets. Like, we're not had one person tell us, well, if you got rid of your cat, you can live here. And we're just like, no, we'll move on. But it really is very important. And just, and shocking to hear the cost, the dollar amount of what the government and the military expects families to pay out of pocket for their housing. Because I can tell you, I lovingly refer to our location as podunk because it's a very remote location, very low cost of living, but all of our utilities are still out of pocket, every single one of them, because our house that we're in, it was advertised for rent at $200 more, which put us over BAH, and I didn't want to do that, and so I called and negotiated down to our BAH level. And they
I've never heard of somebody doing that. That's really smart.
I called and I was just
like, oh, there's a house, let's go.
I was like, hey, we're military. We have a housing allowance. This is what it's at. Will the owners take, the cost off so we are at our housing allowance? And he said, let me find out. And he called them and they said, sure. And we even offered to sign a 2-year lease too, because we knew we'd be here for that time. And they said, that's not a problem. So it worked out for us, but still all of our utilities are out of pocket. Our gas, our electric, our water, our, the internet, all of that is still out of pocket, and it adds up. And anybody else that's been in Texas this year, February, in our snowstorm, we know how much that snowstorm kind of killed our electric bill budgets for the year. So it's a rough thing to imagine that. They expect us to spend $70 to $150, and here we are. Like, I'd love to send you my bills so you can see exactly what $70 to $150 really gets us.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm not living in the penthouse here. I just want a good school, and I want my pets to come with me. I know, and I feel like that negotiation technique is brilliant, but this year I'm hearing a lot. I'm hearing anecdotally, I don't have the data back on this yet, but I'm hearing anecdotally that people who are looking for housing, I'm like, it is on the market and it's gone in 2 seconds. Like, there's no calling to negotiate for a lower rate. You're calling to offer a higher rate so they'll accept you, so you have a place to live.
Yes.
That's my biggest concern in our upcoming PCS, is finding a place to live that will be available when we need to be available. So I'm not living in a camper with 3 wildlings and a dog and a cat and another cat and a bunny. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah,
it can be. And I'll tell you what, and I'm going to speaking of anecdotal evidence, never hurts to ask the question. I'd like to pose this to our audience real quick. For those of you who are PCSing, have you guys ran into some of this? And if so, go ahead and drop that in the comments, because remember, first of all and foremost, you have an entry to win. But second of all of this information can be sent over to the peeps like us, like Blue Star families. They may, it may not be hard data at that point, but it's a trend that we might want to keep our eye on, right?
But hold on, we are fielding the current survey right now. So we will, if you bring that data there, and you bring your stories there, then we will have hard data that we can share, like this 77% of families who are paying more than $200 out of pocket. That comes from this survey. So look at you guys dropping the link in the chat already. You're like way ahead of me.
We do not play around up in here. In fact, shout out Stacy Isom, filled out this new survey today. On it.
I did mine yesterday, so that way I could be able to say today I did it, y'all, and you need to go do it too. So,
well, thank you. We appreciate the time that you're putting into it, because I know it's comprehensive. I know it takes some time to fill it out, but that sort of stuff is what allows us to look at how much are families spending if they have a kid who has special needs that they need to be in a school district that can manage that can support that child's special need. Like, That's how we get this information. I love seeing all this stuff in the chat. People are like, did mine?
Oh yeah. See, these y'all are troopers. Yes. Everybody. See, Joyce, shout out Joyce, did mine. Yep. There you go. Okay. So let's talk about a little bit of spouse employment, because we all know that's a hot topic and everything. Let's just go ahead and put this out there. Every facet of military life is somehow, way, shape, or form impacted by the one thing that most of us have in common, which is PCSing. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So spouse employment, that's always been a hot topic. What we saw in 2020 with the pandemic and that quick pivot from in-person careers to like remote work. And I can tell you firsthand, I've been a remote employee for several organizations prior to COVID, and I've always felt this is a way to have portability, mobility. This is why won't anybody listen? Why won't these employers listen? I am just as effective and productive at home as I can be waiting in DC traffic to get to where I'm supposed to go to do my job. I'm just saying. So we, and it's been a struggle to try and inform and educate these employers that it's possible. You should maybe consider this. If I'm moving to a new duty station, if I'm valuable enough, which I am, you might want to keep me, and maybe you can do that. We could set something up. But now everybody's doing it. It's like Nike. So how has remote work improved the ability for spouses to find the employment that they want? Has there been any positive data as it pertains to remote work due to COVID?
I love that question. Thank you very much for asking that question. I'm right there with you. When COVID first hit, I was like, okay, well, pandemic's not good. But silver lining, everybody's doing Zoom now. Everybody's doing remote work now. So maybe employers will see that, hey, this is doable. Employers who were kind of resistant to it before and said, yeah, I know you want to work from home because you want to go take a nap. I do, but I still am very productive. I want to take a nap, but it doesn't mean I can take a nap because I still have work that needs to be done. So that's I was like, silver lining, this will really help military spouses be able to take their work with me. This upcoming PCS that I have is the first time in 15 years that I have not had to leave a job that I love because we're PCSing. I am so psyched about that. I'm like, I'm actually going to take my job with me. I'm going to take my work friends with me. Like, that's one less thing I have to worry about when I'm PCSing. I still have to find schools. I still have to find all that other stuff, but I don't have to worry about finding a job or being unemployed and having to continue to pay the mortgage on the house that we bought, whatever, when I'm unemployed. So I know that remote work is important for spouses, and it's one way that spouses are being able to maintain employment. That said, it's a good thing. A lot of spouses did move to remote work. It is not fixing all the things because spouse employment, there are other things that are impacting spouse employment, right? When everything went to virtual, schools went to virtual too. So a lot of spouses had to either reduce their hours or stop working altogether because we got to manage our kids' school. And I was just saying earlier, I feel like a reasonably intelligent person. I work remotely online all the time, trying to figure out my middle schoolers, what does she need to do for every day for each teacher. Was a bit of a challenge. I was like, I got 7 teachers. They all want different things. They all use 6 or 7 different apps. I got to learn 42 different things before I've even had my second cup of coffee today. So balancing supervising virtual school and doing your own work it's okay as a Band-Aid. I mean, it works temporarily, but it is not a long-term solution. It is not a sustainable thing. Remote work is useful for a lot, and you can change your hours around, and you can be flexible and do what works for you, and that's going to be great. But it is not the only solution. What we saw for spouses is that 41% of our spouses are not in the labor force, meaning they're not looking for work and they're not employed. Most of those, biggest group that wants to work, wants to be employed, but is not working because they're homeschooling or supervising virtual education. So it's not going to fix everything. We still have some things that we have to take care of before we can get spouses back to work, kids back to school, life back to zero, where we have flatten the curve and flatten Murphy too.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of spouses step out of the labor force or reduce their hours just so they can balance those things. And that's going to be a bit of it's impacting families. It's impacting their ability to bring finances in, and impacting their financial situation, particularly if they just relocated. Unemployment is much higher if you relocated recently.
I'm just going to throw it out there because I am like the poster chick of like the or under employment stat. Let me just go ahead and throw this out there. Of course, every time you PCS, 5 to 6 months waiting for a new job. Cool. Been used to it, been there, done that. However, what I end up doing for the next 2 to 3 years, once I do get a job, is catching up from when I didn't have one, right? So, not to mention, I'm not anywhere long enough to actually, climb up the ladder, if you will. And then so like PCSing and now COVID which is like a double whammy, is not only just affecting our career trajectory in general, but it's going to impact the long-term financial effects of our transitioning service members when they leave. Everything that's happening now will impact what happens when they get out.
I mean, absolutely. Like if you have to start over on the totem pole every time you move, you're never making any progress. You're staying consistent, and that's okay. But also, you will never catch up to those civilian peers who didn't have to start over every couple of years. So if you have that, and we know that when you have an employed spouse, that transition is a lot easier because there's less pressure on you to go out, find a job right now. You have the opportunity to take a moment and be like, okay, who am I outside of this military life that I've lived? So we know it's important for transition. So that spouse employment impacts all of the different areas. It impacts children's education, impacts your transition out. It's impacted by relocation. There's so many different things that are wrapped into spouse under and unemployment.
Yeah. And I just want to say, going back to the comments you made about having to do our virtual learning with our children and trying to work is so very hard. We experienced that last year in our house as well. If you go back to some of our first webinars, everybody, when we get done here today, if you go back to some of our first ones, you will see me sitting there and a child appears to come say hi. You will see the mom look of death over the computer screen as I see them doing whatever that they shouldn't be doing while I was trying to work. It's definitely very, very hard, and why we think remote work, is the answer to everything, because it allows spouses to take jobs with them when they relocate. If they're relocating to a place that's doing virtual learning, it doesn't help at all. So I've been very thankful our schools have been open, but it last spring solidified my life choices to not be an educator. Trying to figure out fourth grade math all over, trying to figure out, sixth grade science, whatever. Pay our teachers, they need it, because I'm not that person.
I'm preached. Last year, I remember trying to host a meeting and give a presentation, and there are my two sons trying to have sumo wrestling fights with the couch cushions in the backyard, and I'm just glaring across the screen at them, like.
Yes, no, absolutely. And then the times like where everybody needs to be on the Wi-Fi with their Chromebook trying to do something, and I'm trying to work, and then suddenly like our internet is out because we overjuiced it with whatever. And then it's me saying, kids, I have to do this webinar. I have to do this thing. So I need you to like turn off the Wi-Fi on your Chromebooks, turn off the Wi-Fi on your tablets, turn off the Wi-Fi on that. You just need to sit here for the next hour and read a book and breathe quietly so I can get this done. And then my kids are just appearing. And they're just like, who are you talking to? What's going on? Can they see me? And yeah. So it's definitely a new added level of stress and things that you have to try to handle when you're remote working, thinking that's the solution to everything, but then you still have virtual schooling going on. It's just another work-life balance of how do you handle that?
Yeah.
So
it's a benefit in a lot of ways. Like, yeah. You don't have the commute and sitting in DC traffic, but it's not the perfect solution. So
yeah. So absolutely.
Yeah, so we saw spouse employment get impacted a lot by COVID. We saw families spending a lot of money out of pocket on housing costs, and we know that that's going to be relocation impacts all of those things, right?
Mm-hmm. So speaking of relocating, we know routinely in the past that we saw relocation and PCS as the number 2 stressor from the Blue Star Family Survey, right behind financial issues being the number 1 stressor. Obviously, COVID has kind of impacted some of those things. So how did COVID and this pandemic kind of shift those findings in 2020?
So relocation stress was a little bit different this year. Again, a lot of people did not move because of COVID and because of the stop movement. Some of those who did move had some kind of stressful moves, where they kind of got stuck in the middle there for a while. That was an intense period of time for a lot of people. But overall, it remains one of the top issues for people. One of the things that we're exploring this year is we want to know more about what is it about relocating that is the major issue. We know relocation issues is a problem, but what is it about it? Is it the moving? Is it finding new stuff, finding new schools, finding new activities for the kids? Is it finding a new job? Is it you're worried about stuff that gets damaged, like, or lost during your move? I remember I am still mourning a pair of shoes that I lost 2 PCSs ago, and I have not been able to find a replacement for. So this year in our 2021 survey that's open, we ask about relocation issues, and more specifically, what is it about it that is that is a challenge for most people, so that we everything at the same time. Yes, I mean all of that too. But we want to know what are the major issues so that we can focus on trying to address those things. So we know relocation is a problem. We've talked about some ways to reduce relocation stress, and it might be through moving less or having more control over where you move. But we can't recommend good interventions unless we know exactly what it is. So we want to dive into it a little bit more and find out what is it that needs fixing.
What is it that needs fixing? Girl, how long you got? No, I'm just kidding. No, here's the thing. I'm not going to lie. I have a love-hate relationship when it comes to, like, we need to speak up. We need to use our voices. And I am all about it because I don't want somebody to have to go through what I've gone through, because sometimes we don't need that much Murphy in our lives. We just don't. In the same respect, I wouldn't be as resourceful as I am right now. And I would not have been able to help advocate for military families for things like whatever it is that I'm doing at that moment. Could be anything, any day, people. But I wouldn't have been able to have that knowledge. I wouldn't have thought, okay, I need to start working on this, because if I don't, who will? Oh, let me grab this other military spouse. Oh, let me go ahead and talk to Blue Star families. Let's see what we could all work out. I'm telling you, one finger can do a lot of damage, but ball them up to a mighty fist. Oh, let's get it. So, I mean, there's something.
I love that. One finger versus is blaming and accusatory. A whole fist. Well, okay.
Come at me, bro. Hold my hopes. No, but I'm glad that I'm resourceful, because what happened was my kids seen me do that. They've seen me kind of like help advocate for other people. And there's something to be said about that. So now I didn't go through all that mess in vain. I get to be here talking to everybody like you guys about what happened and what everybody else is doing to fix it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so we already talked about this crazy housing market. Okay. And I believe that we have some people who went ahead and posted some of their anecdotal evidence, i.e. What's happening right now. A lot of people are going ahead. They're PCSing right now. So you said you PCS soon, Jessica, like about how long?
July. July is the plan.
Okay, so July is, of course, the plan.
I mean,
no, and you're due.
I don't know what the Army will do, but I want to move in July so that we can get there before the kids start school. They keep saying we don't have to be there until November. I'm like, well, but school starts, so we'll work it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and you're long overdue. So we did, and I want everybody to know everything that you put in here. We're gonna be forwarding over to our girl Jessica here, and she's gonna bring it back to Blue Star Families. And oh, by the way, just another plug, just head up in the comments a little bit and go ahead and fill out that Blue Star survey. So I'm actually gonna switch the question number 7, since we already talked about 5. I'm gonna make 7 5, and then Megan will close it out. But so talk to me. Okay, the survey's open. Just reopened, what, yesterday, day before, something like that?
Yesterday. You guys are like on the front edge.
Yes. Happy coincidence. Okay, talk to us about who can fill it out and how long they have before it ends.
Okay, got it. So the beauty of this is that, like I said earlier, we want to make sure that we want to have all of the voices of people who are impacted by military service. We know it's not just the service member, it's not just the spouse, and it's not just active duty. It's National Guard, it's Reserve, it's veterans, it's the adult children, it's parents. We actually added a new section for parents of service members and parents of spouses, because we know that they're an important support for families. I know that I have flown my kids' grandparents in to do childcare where my spouse is deployed and I've got a work trip coming up or something that I've got to do. We know that grandparents play an important support role. I mean, that changed a little bit during COVID, because sometimes they weren't able to come, and sometimes they were the backup childcare and they weren't able to do that. But we know that parents are important, so even parents can take it. It is open until June 6th. So you have until then. It is comprehensive, so it covers a whole lot of different things. Like I said, it covers the perennial issues of spouse employment and child education and time away and relocation. But also this year, we're asking questions about your experiences in the military and civilian community around discrimination, whether that's race or gender or sexual orientation or religion. That's a new one this year. We're also asking a little bit about a new topic that has recently surfaced on family building. So family building is building your family through traditional means or through non-traditional means, alternative means.
Science.
Yes, better living through science.
I need to say this because I have several of my friends, and it is, infertility awareness, made with a lot of love, but a little science, and a lot of love and a little science was this onesie that I saw when my friend had IVF and it was successful. So I'm just gonna.
I love that.
I thought that was so cool.
Well, and the thing to remember about that is it impacts a lot of families, right? But military families, it impacts in a unique way because you have to be trying for a year before you can be eligible for fertility treatments. So many of our families are not together for a full year to reach that threshold. So that's one of the examples of.
And then you're PCSing once you reach that year and then starting over.
Yeah, like you have to start your treatment, or can you delay PCSing so you can finish the treatment that you've already started, or so it's an issue that impacts a lot of people, but it impacts families in a unique way. So we added a section on that to figure out kind of where military families are on this issue. We also, for the first time ever, we are fielding this survey in Spanish. It took a lot of work to get it translated, but I am really excited about the opportunity to hear from a group that we haven't heard from before, that we haven't been able to hear from before. And so I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah. And I think that so one of our people, Talia, she's our spouse sponsor, and she happens to be bilingual. And you're right, there can be language barriers to resources, and if that barrier can be removed, awesome. Right? And so she actually, yes, Talia, see, love it.
Yes, thank you, Talia.
Talia. Yes. So shout out. I love that. Can I just say how much I love that? I love that.
So, yeah, a lot of things that we talked about today: childcare, spouse employment, community belonging, housing costs can all be compounded with a PCS, and a lot of families can really feel that strain and that pressure when they are relocating. So what can families do if they are feeling that strain? Are there resources that they can turn to, or things that Blue Star families can help in that aspect of it?
Well, I know you guys have some sponsors that I will let you talk about much more because you know that better than I do. But I would be remiss if I did not talk about our Blue Star Families chapters. So we have chapter locations. We're a virtual organization, so we're everywhere. We have, volunteers or people engaged in our community across the whole U.S. and OCONUS as well. So we've got people everywhere. But we have some specific chapter locations where we have a person on the ground in that location, setting up events and activities and creating opportunities for families to connect, military families to connect with the civilian communities that they live in. So that when you move to a new duty station or a place that has that chapter, you can plug right into a network. Because those local community connections, that local belonging is so important to family resilience, and making sure families are prepared and have all that they need to withstand all of the stuff that military life sort of throws at you. So we want to make sure that they can plug into a network as quickly as they can, and they don't have to take the time to build that back up.
Word. And actually, we just had a little, shout out, Katya. I hope you get one in Japan.
I'm in Tennessee too. Oh. I'm leaving too. I'm also sad to leave.
It must be really cool out there. I've never been to Tennessee. It's one of the few states that I've not been.
Oh my gosh, you have to come. Nashville food. Oh,
yeah.
So good.
See, now I'm salivating, and now I'm just going to have to go when I'm fully vaccinated.
Before July.
Okay. I finish my vaccination in 2 weeks. I'm
Done.
telling you, it's don't test me, girl. I love food. She's sad to leave her Tennessee Blue Star Family chapter. So, like for those instances, are there any plans to potentially in the future? Is that something that maybe people like Katya should just say, hey, I love my Blue Star peeps. Can we keep this going?
Yeah, I know that I think is one of the things that we would like to see is have more chapters open up. We have to be able to make sure that we can support that chapter sustainably over time. Because the worst thing is that the worst thing in military resources is when you have something open up and you're like, oh, this is great, and then next year there's no funding for it. So you're like, what happened to that really cool thing that we were doing? We're not doing that anymore. Oh, okay. So we want to make sure that when we open it up, we can sustain it over time, so it's consistent. So it's not like, oh, we're open, oh, we're closed, oh, we're open, oh, we're closed. Like schools. Like schools have been this past year.
Like school.
So question to go with that. So you talked about, the funding piece being able to sustain it long term. Does Blue Star Families take donations? Can people donate to it? How would somebody go around saying, I really want this and I can do what I can do to make it work? How can I contribute to it?
That is actually a good question that I wasn't anticipating. My favorite form of contributing to Blue Star Families is filling out the survey, but I'm a little biased. That's my favorite form of it. But there is a donate button on the website, and we do accept donations that way. Not what I was anticipating you asking. I see the question about how do you find your local chapter. That is also on the website. We have 11 chapters right now. So they're in all kinds of different places. And I know that we do have opportunities for people to volunteer. You can be a survey ambassador and tell people all about the survey and get more people to take the survey for us. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
And it's awesome because I really like the fact that Megan's like, how would one donate? Because, depending on where we go, like if I PCS, I might have been like a volunteer rock star at my previous duty station, but maybe my husband's out the door when we get to our new one and I don't have the bandwidth to be that rock star volunteer anymore. But I still have that itch, to be part of my community and like, So to have things like that, like to be able to say, okay, I can't do anything. I have no time and no brain. I'm just going to donate $20 and get back with you when I have a brain again. Or life didn't just hit me with a rock, or something like that. And also, like you mentioned survey ambassadors. Well, that's something that's doable and within the bandwidth and frame of, it can be easily done, sharing that and passing that along.
You can do that right now. You can go and tell people about the survey right this minute if you want.
Well, since we're doing that, can we be official, unofficial ambassadors today?
Oh, yes, 100%. I don't know if we have a badge or a button. I will have to see if I can get you a button.
A button. You're so funny. Yes.
So really quick, I'm going to take the reins from MJ real quick because I want to put this comment up on the screen from Stacy about donating to Blue Star Families through Amazon Smile. It is such an easy way to be able to donate to Blue Star Families or other organizations. It's to just go on your Amazon, go into your account settings, set up your Amazon Smile, pick your organization of choice. Obviously, we're here for Blue Star Families. And when you make a purchase, because I think most of us generally use Amazon daily or every other day, maybe a couple times a day. But, part of your order, a percentage of it goes towards them. And why it may be a very small percentage, it adds up over the year. And so I love being able to see at the end of the year, going in there and seeing how much was donated to the organization of choice based off of just what you normally bought throughout the year. So I think that's just a good reminder and an easy way that if you don't have the money where you can give and donate, that's just an easy way where you can donate and make it possible to give a little love their way to help these programs.
I love seeing that. I do love seeing how much is donated at the end of the year. Yeah. I don't love thinking about how much I spent to make sure that much was donated throughout the course of the year. I'm like, oh, maybe I need to calm that down a touch. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially after you relocate, right? You need new curtains, you need new bedding, you need new picture frames for the walls, what have you. You need all of the things.
Yeah, everything.
Speaking of which, we're sitting here, we're talking about volunteering, and this idea actually was born out of that. But PCS grades, we have something called spouse sponsors.
Right.
it was like under the impression. So basically, our service members get this sponsor, right? Most of the time when we, move Oconus, but a lot of times when we're here, and it's hit or miss what kind of a sponsor you get. But in the long short of things, they're the people who are saying, here's where to go, who to talk to, what to do, what the protocol is. But here's the thing. We're dealing with the logistics 99% of the time. Just like I said, my husband could be out the door when we get there. And then I'm like, hey, where's my sponsor? And enter PCS grades. So in certain locations, and we're building it now, we have about 12 now, and we're getting up to 24. That's our goal, is to get up to 24. And we have openings. It is a paid position because we thought, okay, why don't we just go ahead and contribute our piece to solving the unemployment issues for our spouses, especially when they're PCSing. It's just a contract thing. We have a position description if you're interested, but basically you would be involved in the community and allowing us to support you by providing those resources. And it's like that warm handoff. So if I'm coming to your neck of the woods, Jessica, and if you were a spouse sponsor, I could look and I can see, okay, well, this person lives in this area, which is where I'm going. Maybe she's got school age kids. That's awesome. What are the good schools to go to? Oh, you have an EFMP kid. That's great. Not only can you tell me where the office is, you might be able to tell me who the point of contact is. Oh, by the way, let me give you an email and a warm handoff. Like, hi, that would have been awesome. Like, so that's kind of what's being built. And
asking for a friend, where are these sponsors located?
So right now, currently, we like the ones that we have are in San Diego. We have some here in the DMV area. We have one who is currently, Talia, who is PCSing from California, on over to Fort Bragg. And she is actually stopping at different installations on her way and popping up as PCS grades and, helping people out, giving those resources. So shout out, sister. And we have people in Colorado Springs. We have people in Pensacola. We've got Norfolk. We've got... and we need people at Wright-Patterson in Ohio. We need people at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama. We need one more in Norfolk. We need one more up here in the DC metro area. We need one in Jacksonville, Florida. And maybe, we'll see what that looks like. And we started small to have 24, because some installations will have more than one, because some installations like Colorado Springs, they got like 4 right there, like plus the academy and all that craziness. Yeah. So they divide and conquer, and then one team, one fight when it makes sense.
I'm sorry for putting you on the spot there, but you did a really good job of rattling off and remembering where everybody is. That's
yes, because myself and Stacy, we are both those sponsor leads. We support them. We meet with them every other week. We help them set up events. We give them a support budget. And oh, by the way, again, we pay a monthly contract fee. So it's kind of awesome because we're just supporting people doing what they're already doing.
Also, our issues that we discussed today with like spouse employment, because you're paid a contract fee, you're now taking care of some spouse employment issues. It's a way to have a little extra income for your family, pays for my Starbucks. It's taking care of several of those issues that we see, community and community belonging that we see issues with sometimes, not knowing how to fit in. You got PCS grade spouse sponsors right there to kind of, wrap their arm around you and say, hey, let me show you around. Let me help you get where you need to go. So it kind of helps all those issues that we see compounded with the PCS. You've got somebody there to kind of help you with it all.
Yeah. And I mean, like, again, we're kind of building the plane as we're flying it, but we're taking off so fast that it's going to be big. And I think that at some point we will exceed those 24 and move on out. Oh, girl. And then Gina, just a question from Gina. Is this listed somewhere so we can see if our duty station has one? We will go ahead and drop that in the links here shortly. A good question. I'll keep an eye out. Yes. Okay. Really quick. We got to do these wheel of names because we got winners. So as Stacy is sending me the names of everybody via email, what I'm going to do, so we already know it's, the places you will go?
Yes, that is correct.
Because I was like, is it where we will go? Because it's kind of like, I look at it like a one team, one fight. Maybe we could just cross out the you and put a we. And then the second,
I was gonna say it's designed around, you know, a person or Dr. Seuss's character, their journey. So it's the places you will go. And again, my favorite part about this book, for those of you that have kids, or those of you that know somebody that's a military family having kids, give them this book. And then at the end of every school year, have their teachers pick a page, write a note, write their name of their school and the years. And every time they move, they have that book and they go get their new teacher to sign it. By the time they're graduating high school, you have a really cool, neat keepsake for them to have to remember all the places they went during their military kid career.
Dude, I'm about like 6 years too late for that.
I know. By the time I heard one of my friends told me this, like my oldest was in 5th grade and everything, I was just like, I could try to send it back, you know, to the last 3 schools and see if it would work. And, you know,
but homeschooled for a year. Do you sign it yourself? You're like, hey, good job this year.
I mean, I totally would, you know, Harless Academy at home, you know, and I think it could work. But now everybody I know that has a young kid or a new kid or anything, that book is part of like my baby care package to them.
Word. I am just, there's a lot of names, y'all. So just give me 1 minute. Not quite enough to break, but enough to be good. Gracious me.
My MJ's doing that here from Krista, talking about that book. One of those Pinterest tips that I managed to catch before my kids started school. So anybody else listening, I mean, it's a really great and neat, different keepsake for them to have of their military kid career.
Okay, let's see. There we go. Sharing the screen, people.
Let's do it.
And Jessica, when we log off here, just go ahead and stay on for a minute. Okay, here. I usually have about 50 tabs open. I close them all just for you so you don't have to see inside my crazy brain. All right. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is, the places you will go. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it is Military Child still for a few days. So we're going to honor that.
Bum, 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 bum. Drum roll.
Renee, I believe it's Renee Van Allen. Yes.
Yay. Congratulations.
Awesome. Congrats. Okay. And then the next thing we'll be giving away is this dandelion wire bracelet, courtesy of Hope Design Limited. Shout out Lauren Hope. Okay, who's going to get this dandelion?
How cute is that? That's
adorable. Isn't it? Especially with the dandelion in month of the military child. Yeah. And just a reminder, folks, if you grab a box of tissues if you decide to do it, but Google the dandelion poem about military kids. It'll get the
Yeah.
Okay, this is for the wire bracelet.
Drum roll. We need a drum roll noise in here. We need to get one.
Anne-Marie.
Oh, good.
Congratulations, Anne-Marie.
Congratulations. Anne-Marie, if you could just go ahead and message us at the Facebook page. Both of our winners, Renee and Anne-Marie, if you could just message us over at the Facebook page, the PCS grades. Yes, I said the Facebook page, and message us, and we'll get that to you as soon as possible. Just for those of you who have been previous winners, if you're still waiting on your gift, please understand that we are at the mercy of UPS, USPS, and FedEx. So all of them have gotten rid of their guaranteed delivery date, and we are just working on them. So if you haven't gotten it, stand by. It's been sent. All right. Thank you so very much, Jessica, for coming on and talking to our families about this survey. People, if you haven't already, go ahead and fill out the Blue Star Families Military Family Lifestyle Survey. Boom. See, maybe I'm okay at the coffee. And fill it out and get that information so that your voice can be heard, and that will help military families in the future as well. Megan, you too, as always, thank you so much for being our PCS Reform Advocate and resident. And until next time, Megan.
This too shall PCS.
Bye, everybody.